October 4th, 2018. So, for anybody who it's their first time coming into the stream, which, you know, in the very early seconds is likely not that many people, but for anybody who is new to the stream, this is a thing I do once a week before a New Step Back video comes out. So at 2 o'clock, a New Step Back video is going live. And in the hour before the video comes out, I try to get some hype going by talking to you guys, hanging out, answering questions. Sometimes my cat makes an appearance. One of them, anyway, I have two. And we just kind of hang out and do awesome stuff. And oftentimes we all have a really good time. At least I think we do. You guys could all be hating this, and I have no idea. Anyways, let me just take a look at the chat here and see who's come on in. Hoar. I really need a better name for you. I refuse to call you by the word that you want me to say. I see Jonathan, I see Waldo, I see good old 255 AD, and I've got Nightwatcher's Pet, my Discord and now stream chat admin or moderator who keeps me sane. I should shout out her and Demon Colin. Demon Colin? The two of them are really awesome for my sanity. Those two people are the moderators of the Discord server, which I haven't given an invite to in a while, so maybe I'll just toss that out. We have a Discord that if you haven't joined, you should. So I'm going to give you all a link. Yeah, here. I'm going to send you all a link. Here, if you haven't joined up yet. And yeah, those two people keep my life going on Discord and now in the chat. If Demon Colin, if you are in the chat, then I would like to give you moderator privileges as well. Puerto Rico represent. Desposito is here. Sorry. Oh my, yeah. How's everyone doing? I like Christos Nicolau. Don't just ask me questions. Let's have a fun time. I'm going to mute the microphone for a second so I can move. Oops, sorry about that. That might have been a bit loud. But yeah, check out the Discord if you haven't yet. So, there. Let's see who we got here. Despacito, something. I don't know the rest. No one. Well, some people do. I don't. I'm probably worse than. Who is it who butchered it? Was it Justin Bieber who completely butchered Despacito? I even know like a little bit of Spanish, but you're working a double today, Radical Reviewer? That sucks so much. I am very sorry that you have to go through that. I hate long shifts. Oh gosh. Well, hopefully I can give you like at least an hour of entertainment followed by 8 minutes and 35 seconds of entertainment. I think the next video's runtime is. So, first question that came up was Waldo, who asked how my week was. My week's going pretty well. I've been making some business decisions about the channel. I'm playing with some new things. You shall see in the near future. But also, I worked on this video that's coming out, and I'm really happy with it. It's really fun. If you are a fan of Crusader Kings 2, you're going to get a lot of jokes, which will be fun. And yeah, I kind of have tried to... This week has like been weirdly huge in like changing up my daily routine in a lot of ways. Like this week I decided to grab myself a little bit, do some exercise in the morning to help with my focus, and introduce mindfulness meditation also in my mornings, and just trying to work harder and faster and get more done and sort of reprioritize some things to make my life a little bit more manageable and not fall behind on important things, because I do that a lot because ADHD is nasty. Oh gosh. let's see. We also have a question from Mr. or Miss or neither. 255 AD. Is there a way for people in the West to keep having easy access to luxuries like chocolate, coffee, or Blue Yeti microphones without exploiting borderline slaves everywhere else? I mean, yes. If we had a non-capitalist method of trade and production, I mean, there are things that we make that other parts of the world need too. You know, they exist. We do have a function. We do have a purpose. And so, honestly, like, we produce more stuff than people really need. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of things like Blue Yeti microphones that also can be repurposed, upgraded, replaced, and recycled. And so, honestly, the like need to like mass exploit resources from the developing world like we do now would not be necessarily a as required as it would be in like if you were at a socialist economy. Like, for example, the Blue Yeti in a socialist economy would probably be able to would be more modular, because if you think about it, if you're designing things not because you want to make a profit but because you want to make them as good as they can be and like designed to be a better product, you could make a Blue Yeti that has replaceable parts, upgradable parts, repairable, things like that. And so honestly, like, I wouldn't need to buy a new microphone if this one breaks. I could buy replacement parts and fix it. I could get a 3D printer and fix it, or do something like that. And I feel like we kind of, because it's so commonplace now in the way the world works, we don't think about planned obsolescence and the way that we've like made everything disposable. And so I think that our consumption of resources from the developing world would go way down if we were if we had an economy based on, you know, not based on capitalist mode of production. On top of that, I mean, like, we would still probably be able to get things like chocolate and coffee and such because, you know, they still have things, we still have things, we can help each other out. And why, like, what's, like, I don't know, so they're like, if anything, the cheap labor forces a lot of is what causes a lot of the pain. And like, if we would be able to produce the same amount of chocolate, for example, and get cocoa production to be just as high. It's just we would automate, and it would because we wouldn't have to worry about because you wouldn't need to worry about labor laws and like how harsh people are being treated. Like, automation is a thing that would be a net gain to society. Anything that would like reduce the amount of labor we need would help. And so things like agricultural machines would be able to make work, like, reduce overall labor, which would make life better for everyone. So I do think that we would still be able to do a whole lot without having to we would have a whole lot of like the luxuries of our modern economy without capitalism. All right. Did I miss? Let's see if there's any questions I missed real quick. Okay. All right, I think that's all the ones that I've gotten. Okay, so let's start with Waldo. When are we restoring the Prussian Empire to her former glory? I hope never. I really hope that a kingdom as brutal and militaristic as the Prussian Empire never happens again. Ever. No matter how pretty their hats were or whatever. I don't... this happened... Waldo, you missed this in the stream on Tuesday, because I know that in South Africa it would probably have been the middle of the night when I did that stream. But, like, I don't understand the, like, this like weird German Empire World War I Kaiserreich nostalgia. Like World War, like the German Empire was still a dictatorship that was brutal and colonists, like they were colonizers and they were militaristic, and yeah, just I don't understand it. I don't understand a lot of nostalgia for especially the Victorian period. I mean, we could wear whatever clothes we want, and honestly, like for a lot of women, those periods were way worse. And if Victorian times, like, you know, clothing was like deadly. Like they wore corsets that like warped their bones and like moved their organs and stuff. Like I don't see any. I don't know why we're all having this World War I era Germany nostalgia again. I don't get it. Don't tell Emperor Tigerstar I said that, though. He might get mad. Did I miss some other questions? Oh, yes. Oh, my. Okay. Let me just copy up some more questions down so that I don't lose them, because I will forget, because I am a terrible, terrible person who has attention deficit hyperactive disorder, primarily inattentive, which means that I am unable to remember most things longer than about 10 seconds unless I write it down. You should do a history on the history of the Fez. Sure. Actually, while we're on that, since we have people recommending video ideas, I'll plug this webpage as I do all the time. The Discord people are probably exhausted of this by now, but this is a webpage that I run where you can submit video ideas and upvote other people's video ideas, and I'm using that to gauge what ideas I want to go with next. So if you have an idea you want to submit, just open up that page and put it in there. But be sure to sort of, you know, get involved with like upvote other people's ideas as well as submitting their own. I don't want you to, like, you know, just put your own thing and not like let other cool things happen. And plus your idea might have already been submitted, in which case, you know, you can just make it closer to coming to reality. But that's the way I think I'm going to do things, because it means that Step Back fans get to have a really good statement between, you know. Okay. Yeah. Well, Night Watcher's Pet, this is how you know that I think I'm older than you, because when I was a kid, a lot of people were debating over whether ADHD even existed. When I was a kid, some people were getting Ritalin, and some people were believers, and some people thought it was all hokum. And so when I was a child, most teachers and guidance counselors and child psychologists and parents I had were pretty convinced that ADHD is not a real disease, and that I was just lazy and stupid. And that I was just like, I think like the child psychologist just called me like an asshole who was full of myself. Yeah, he was a really great child psychiatrist. And so for a long time, I was told rather over and over again that I was pretty worthless. And so, I don't know, probably left me with a big, you know, a big inferiority complex that might have resulted in me having this overwhelming desire for people's attention and maybe starting I don't know, something like a YouTube channel or something. I don't know, you know. There was a great Bo Burnham song that basically exposed that pretty much anybody who becomes an artist is because they have a pathological addiction to attention. So, you know, no worry, Jenga Tree, for missing the show. Yeah, that psychiatrist was messed up. Even like when we left, my mom was like, "What the fuck was up with that guy?" Yeah, so learning. I plan on making a video about learning disabilities, because it even or neurodivergent stuff, mostly learning disabilities, because It's something that's so personal to me that I feel like it's a thing that I should touch on. Oh, wait, you're 29? Okay, then we are the same age, unless you already had your birthday this year. Because I'm going to be 30 in November. Born in November of 1988. Okay. So yeah, let's answer some more fun questions, and oh boy, okay. So let's start with Audible Anarchist has a oh, that was not a question at me. Never mind, Audible Anarchist. Which reminds me, I need to complete my listening to your LibriVox recording of The Conquest of Bread. I started it and I didn't finish it, and I kind of forgot about it. Because if I don't make a checklist item for me to listen to it, I won't do it. Because I'm a bad person. I'm getting all these questions recommending ideas. I put a link in the chat to a place where you could submit video ideas. Submit it there. I now need... I want to use data to figure out whether I should just do a video on something, so... Although sometimes I'll overrule it just because I feel like it, so, you know, there's that. Yeah. So... what? Ina wants to know, what do you think of the role religion is in socialist movements? There are fairly often there are lots of religious movements that are very in line with socialist movements. Like socialist movements that like things like liberation theology have like shown that there are very clear interpretations of Christianity that are in line with socialist principles. If you if like every other interpretation of religion, you can selectively interpret things to fit a political thing, like it is a way to meet people where they are and convince them of political realities, and get them to go on a good path that meets them where they are. Like in my mind, I don't see religion like angry atheists do. I am somebody who believes that religion is a thing that people believe, and it's part of their identity, it's part of their nationality, it's part of their ethno-racial, like, it's part of them. It's not a thing that you can just talk somebody out of. It matters a lot in culture. And so I do think that if you want to make socialists, if you want to modernize these religions, you have to be constructive and not destructive. And so the role of religion in socialist society would be to try and use their language and meet them where they are and talk to them. Just because someone's religious doesn't mean that they're unreasonable. It just means that they are involved in a different idea space, and you can meet them on that ground. I think that it's more constructive to tear down things like liberation theology, the whole like hyper-capitalist Christianity, by pointing to biblical verses that are very anti-capitalist, than like just yelling at them and saying that their religion's wrong, they believe in silly things, ha ha ha. Because one, that shows that you don't understand how religion works. You don't understand the point of religion. And second, it makes you kind of like a dick. This is why Richard Dawkins is a dick. He's also a racist asshole, but like, I used to kind of be in that space, that new atheist space, the Richard Dawkins-y type space, and then I grew up. And something happens when you spend time with people who believe in religion, and you don't just treat them like somebody for ponage sake, and you actually like hear them out and listen to their ideas and get to know them as people. You all of a sudden can treat religious people like they're humans, and realize that it's something way deeper and way more essential than, say, like just having a set of like logical reasoned beliefs, and then you can be, you know, a lot. You can become a better person. You can be more. You can understand people where they are. I feel like I'm talking in circles here, but religion is a thing that exists. It has existed for thousands and thousands of years. It will exist hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of years after you are dead. There's no time where you're going to think of the greatest ownage of Christianity that's going to lead to every Christian all of a sudden abandoning the thing that connects them to their family, their community, and something that gives them peace and solace in this dark and cold and lonely universe. Yeah, that's like not going to happen. So, you know, just treat people like people. Gee. That's where I go. Why is it that Irish and Korean history don't get a lot of focus internationally? Well, Ireland and Korea have both been usually colonial subjects for a long time, and they just, I don't know. Like, there's some things like Korea has very much had its nationality subsumed by Japan in the past. And by the time Korea became independent, we were kind of in a post-nationalist stage, and, you know, that might be changing now. So, like, and also maybe they're not super into soft power exporting stuff. I mean, I would argue that Korean history is pretty interesting and taught well, just like in East Asia and not so much like, you know, in the West. And I don't know what you're saying about Irish history because, geez, there are so many Irish people in like North America who are related to Irish diaspora, and yeah, so many people at least try to say that they know something about Irish history, although there is definitely a lot of pain and stuff that could definitely be more uncovered. And I do think that in Korean history, you are unauthorized to write on my Discord channel. I have no idea what that means. I am not very good at Discord, sadly. So yeah, I do think that you're onto something. I don't exactly know why, though. Could be that because... I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry, Dracone. Radical Reviewer, did you see Zeitgeist 3 documentary where they talk about green room skyscrapers in every city? No, I got off board with Zeitgeist when they started getting into 9/11 truther stuff and really bad histories of how religion or how Christianity was made. So yeah, after I saw Zeitgeist 1, I was like, wow, I really, really don't trust this documentary maker. And so, like, I have never watched a Zeitgeist movie after that. And also, I'm, what's that weird political movement that the person who made Zeitgeist tried to get into? Like, Operation something. And it was like, I was like, yeah, like, no. If somebody lacks that many critical faculties, I'm not super into watching what they're making. Sorry, if you are like literally convinced that 9/11 that the Americans were able to pull off the largest Black Ops operation in human history and not have a single leaker for coming up on 2 decades now, you probably lack a lot of the critical faculties that make me think that your critique of capitalism and your proposal for a new world might have some flaws. Just saying. You can't submit recommendations. Just type it out. Sometimes the site is a little buggy. You just type it, and the ID should show up, and then there will be like a button that you push. It's not the most like intuitive site, but if you like type a few letters, then you'll find a button that says share your idea, and then you can click that, and that'll make it work. I know it's a little annoying, but it works. Okay. Bernie was in Congress. He voted for authorization for use of military force. Is he a fraud? What did he authorize military force for? He was against the Iraq War, but I'm not exactly sure which military force you're referring to. We need more cat. Phoebes? I think she's very much in her own. She's very much in her own world right now. She's kind of enjoying her own thing, and Romeo coming and wanting to get human attention is a rare and special occurrence, and I don't know. Oh, he's on the couch, so and he's also sleeping, so I don't want to interrupt him. Damn! Look at all these friends. When are we gonna get step forward? Oh man, look, Kevin Logan and Thought Slime are in here. Oh man, it's a good day. This is a good day to stream. All right. Let's see. 255 AD. The other night you said the Roman Empire needed continual influx of slaves and plunder to function. If that's the case, then why did it survive for centuries after it stopped conquering new territories? That is a good question. I would say that once they stopped, I mean, it existed for centuries after they stopped conquering new territory, but once they stopped plundering and conquering new territory, that is generally considered the beginning of their decline. Once they, like, stopped expanding, that's when they started getting more corrupt and, like, cracking at the seams, and things started getting bad. So there's that. Perhaps today is a good day to stream. All right, yeah, so that's... All right, Dracone, what world mythology do you like the most? I actually was very close not too long ago, like probably back in I want to say 2013, maybe 2012 was when I made the change. But in the 2012-2013 area, I made the switch to U.S. history. But before that, I was going to go to grad school for archaeology, and I was going to study pre-Columbian Mesoamerican mythology, specifically that of the central Mexico, Valley of Mexico area, or what would be called Central Mexico, or the Nahua-speaking area of Mexico. So this would be the area around, like, Mexico City, Veracruz, like that area, Jaltocan, and like those kind of places. And it basically is the area around Tenochtitlan, which would be more colloquially called the Aztec Empire. So like that kind of Aztec-y type cosmology. Christos Nicolau. What, do you mean the Byzantine era or late Roman? Well, the Byzantine Empire was a very different situation. Yeah. Okay, so Tai. Do you mean the former Roman Empire declined over centuries? Yeah, the Roman Empire declined over a long period of time, but its decline basically started up as it stopped being able to conquer territory. I have an honest question from Hoar. Have you read Lacau? Have you read Moof? I need to read about them for tomorrow. This isn't a meme question. I have not read those names. Those are the first time I've heard both of those names. And some of those sound like I think they might be fake names. But I know that it's not a joke. But I'm sorry, I don't have much I can say to that. I haven't read either of them. 255 AD. Should the Dems try to impeach Kavanaugh the next time they have control of government? They could try. From what I'm learning about the idea of impeaching Kavanaugh is that this hasn't been done before, and so nobody really knows how it would work, which means that there would be that things would be kind of troubling. Like, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like, no one's ever impeached a Supreme Court justice before. And so the process for doing it is unknown, which means that there's a lot of chances that things could get drawn out, things could get fought over, it could become very, it could, like, not work, and that could result in constitutional crisis and weird things like that. So what's more likely as an option is, if you watch, there's a video I made a while ago when Kennedy announced that he was retiring, where I said that the option will probably be to pack the court, which is, instead of trying to remove Kavanaugh specifically, to sort of drown out Kavanaugh from the Supreme Court. So, like, trying to add more justices to the Supreme Court over the 9 and sort of push it to a position where there are more left-wing Supreme Court justices than right-wing Supreme Court justices. Just kind of add more. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do anything for, like, impeaching the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is like the highest law of the land in some ways. They are the final arbiters of what is legal and not legal. So it's interesting to see that there's no real accountability mechanism for them. All right, Mr. Slime, when are we going to step forward videos about the future? I know that this was a joke question, but I'll be honest, this was actually an idea I had a long time ago. Back before I realized anyway, that people really only want to see on your YouTube channel stuff related to the stuff you're already doing. Not everybody can do like an extra credits where you have a show about video games and a show about science fiction and a show about history all on one channel, and then also get away with being an emotionally abusive, sexual harassing asshole like James Portnoy, but that's a different story. So I was thinking, I actually even think I had as a Patreon stretch goal for a while that once I got to a certain point, I would make a second video series that would be called Step Forward, and it was going to be futurist stuff, but then it didn't really work out all that much. Just because I realized that I don't think it would do very well on Step Back, and then there would have to be a new channel, and that would be starting from scratch, and that just doesn't seem like a thing that is worth my energy at this point. UFO Guy 33, do you believe in any conspiracy theories? That depends upon what you define as a conspiracy. None that would be, like, considered part of your average conspiracy stuff. I would say that there are some conspiracies that I don't think are true, but if they turned out to be true, would not surprise me. Like, if the CIA had figured out a way to give people cancer, that would not surprise me, because, like, there was that period in which, like, a whole bunch of left-wing politicians in the sort of, like, you know, Monroe Doctrine part of the world all got cancer at the same time, and all of them were like, oh, or at least in 2 of the cases, they were like, oh yeah, this is like just a thing that we can handle. Like, it's not serious cancer. But then they just, like, all of a sudden got, like, really bad cancer and died. The people that come to mind for me are, I think it was, like, this left-wing president of Argentina, and Hugo Chavez, and Jack Layton, who were all left-wing leaders who were either, like, leaders of their country or close to becoming leaders of the country, who, right when they were at their peak, got cancer and died. And if the CIA knew how to give people cancer, it would not surprise me that they would do that to those people. But I don't think that that's the case at this point, from what I know about how the world works and how science works. I doubt that a convincing way to give people cancers that look like they're, you know, natural cancers is a thing. Like, you can give people cancer by, like, irradiating them, but, like, then they would get, like, very specific types of cancers, like thyroid cancer and stuff like that. So I guess that's where I would go. But, like, there's no, like, actual conspiracy theory that I'm like, nah, I buy it. It's totally, especially just because the name is UFO guy here, especially any of the alien ones, I'm actually pretty pessimistic on the Fermi paradox answers, and I'm under the belief that we might be the only intelligent species in the galaxy, which is both promising and terrifying. Because if that is all we are, if we are the only ones, then, you know, if we destroy ourselves, then nothing's left. Do a online Hunger Games match where all the combatants are historical figures. Yeah, that's... I don't know, how would you do that? What would you do that with? Would it be with a game? I'm not sure how that would work. Radical Reviewer, what is the most probable dystopian future? I mean, we kind of live in one with our neoliberal hellscape, but one that's been on my mind for a while. There's two dystopian futures that I think... Sorry about that. There's two dystopian futures that I see could actually happen that nobody seems to be writing about, and I think that it would be interesting to see written about, and I'd like to see. One is a sort of automation takeover of the direction of society, where like it's not like hyper intelligent general AI stuff, but it's like not too smart intelligence. Like we decide that to program like an AI that does stuff like that manages laws and politics in order to have the most efficient society that we could have, which would lead to like a dystopia, because we would probably program it to like assume that capitalism is the right way to do things. And so it would ruthlessly, you know, optimize the economy and the law to serve capitalism in like without any human input whatsoever, and turn us into like an absolute nightmare, or something like that. I could see something in that vein being a dystopia that we do, where we use an AI that might not be like actually intelligent, but we optimize it for goals that are very small minded because we are really terrible humans. The second idea is one that is maybe a little bit more likely, which is that I get really worried about all of this like behavioral research. Like when I think about stuff, like how like I think about stuff like how there's this world where, how would I say this? Like how food manufacturers use data-driven approaches to see what is the exact right amount of sugar to add to a food in order to get people to get addicted and like it the most. And like things like nudge, which is like this idea of using little psychological tricks to sort of get people to do things that you want them to do without even thinking that they want to do it. And I just like imagine all of that building up to a position where like we've been like psychologically like totally messed up because basically capitalists and the government have completely figured out how to not only get you to do what they want you to do, but get you to want to do it. And so you'd be in this whole like dystopian nightmare because you're living in this impoverished, terrible thing, but like they're just manipulating the freaking Play-Doh between your ears to make you want, like, to make it so that you need to buy all the latest products. It's kind of like all the things that we have now with advertising, and the state just like ramped up to 11, where like Greg the Villager, I am also streaming on YouTube. So Greg the Villager, who is in the Twitch chat, I am also on YouTube. I stream on both at the same time. And so I could just see this situation where like every moment from birth to death, through nudge techniques, through stuff like microeconomics and behavioral economics and just all these little things that people are like constantly in a state of being manipulated to do one thing or another, which people would argue would happen now, but I think that we still have a little bit of independence. But I could imagine, like, if we had mastered that would be a really weird dystopian nightmare. And if you're the one person who sees through it, it would look like an absolute grotesque nightmare. Yeah. Close down your Twitch stream. No one's watching. Oh well. It's available for everybody. All right. You can't understand why we want to bring back the German monarchy is because where you see a tyrant, we see strong German leadership. You know what? As a historian, I will say I'm okay without strong German leadership. You know? Merkel is enough strong German leadership for me to be happy. Let's just say there was a time in the past where people had strong German leadership, and it didn't end well. So, like, I'm good. And not to mention, like, being a literal monarchist is a little fucked up. Like, the fact that you literally want to undo democracy and go back to a dictatorship ruled by someone who is literally called an emperor just sounds really disturbing to me, especially because of like how Germany had like German, like in any like type of like old school and sort of like any sort of nostalgia for dictatorships like that, like you realize that there were people under the German Empire who very much would not benefit under this whole system you set up. Like all of the people who lived in the African colonies that Germany had, like in Rwanda, where the Germans had this racial caste system that that basically brutalized the people there and had this white supremacist hegemony. Like, let's not romanticize dictators, okay? Okay? Like, I dislike Merkel as much as the next person for being being a neoliberal, basically, but like, yeah, this like nostalgia for, well, this like, man, I'm German and I want to be nostalgic for a dictatorship. Well, the last dictatorship we had was, oh my, well, that one's not popular, so let's go to the one before that. Like, no thank you. Yeah. I am happy that we do not live in a monarchy anymore. I'm glad that monarchy is a dying idea, and I would very much not like to go back. Thank you. Okay. Fernando Abreudo? Do you think that there is a climate for World War III? Not in our current situation. I see more potential for World War III if we were like a, you know, space situation empire, because like, honestly, like, at the moment with mutually assured destruction and the sort of stronger international organization, like the reason why, I think I've said this in a couple previous streams, that this is probably asking for a follow-up to, but like the World War I and World War II happened in a context of like a lack of international organization and a will to respond when countries were becoming like expansionist, which I don't think exists in this context. Although I will say that World War III might start because of an accident, like because if you read Command and Control by Eric Schlosser, I want to say his name was, you'll end up saying that like nuclear weapons were very hello Big Bear Woods in Twitch, like nuclear weapons like any other technology, have their bad days and have accidents and there's broken arrows and things like that. Like, all you would need, really, is for one powerful country to accidentally fire one of their ICBMs. And a lot of other countries have these fail-safe mechanisms so that if they have these like retaliatory policies where if one gets fired, then they will fire as well. And so I could see World War III breaking out over something like that. Because, like, I don't see, like, a World War III happening in a, like, typical format. But yeah, Command and Control is a book that I definitely recommend reading, but also you're going to have nightmares, because it shows, like, how prone to error and how it's actually kind of a miracle that we haven't had more nuclear disasters because of how many things have gone wrong, just because, like, somebody plugged something in backwards or something like that. So yeah. I could see, but I don't see the context of a World War III happening unless it's by accident, in which case we have so many automated systems that will that are based on retaliatory strikes that would basically lead to the end of the world. All right. Yeah, I was just, sorry, I was just taking care of some business. All right. Okay. So, what was the biggest city in what is now the U.S. in 1491? That is a good question. I hesitate, because, like, the Mississippian culture in 1491 in the continental United States was destroyed, or it had already collapsed to some degree. But I do imagine that we don't really know what the biggest city would have been at the eve of colonization. But I picture that it would probably be in the Mississippi Valley. It would probably be around where the Mississippian culture was. So somewhere in either Kansas or Missouri or Mississippi or, like, Louisiana, because that's where, like, I think the highest population density was in what would become the United States before the arrival of Europeans. And that is also a unique thing that I just did. I banned somebody from my chat who gave me money in the same chat, in the same stream, which is, like, that's a confluence of factors. What do you think about the situation at the Euphrates? Is there something specifically going on at that river, or are you talking about the specific situation going on in Iraq at the moment? I don't know what you're referring to, Thought Slime. Question: why do so many leftists defend Cuba? Because we don't have very many long-living examples of a leftist society that we can get behind and say good things about. And so Cuba is a communist society that has been around for over 60 years and has, despite being blockaded and pressured pretty much all the time, they've managed to survive and to some extent thrive, and they've done a lot of things. Like, they become one of the leaders in medical like training doctors in the world, and they've had a lot of, like, really positive things happen in Cuba because of their communist policies. But I will say that that defense does come at the specific ignorance of the fact that that defenders of Cuba don't really mention that Cuba keeps political prisoners, and it's still illegal to criticize the Communist Party of Cuba, and that there are severe restrictions on people's access to technology, access to the internet, access to information, which I think is unconscionable. So yeah. Euphrates. Oh my. I feel like I'm missing what's going on in the chat. to some extent. Thought Slime's doing a thing, and I don't know what's going on. And usually he's really funny, so I want to know what's going on. Audible Anarchist. If freedom means doing what you want, then you don't gotta want something. Pat the bunny. What? If freedom means doing what you want, then don't you gotta want something? Okay. Is Cuba a dictatorship? Well, it's run by a single party that I don't know if it has elections, but the leader of the country basically controls the entire party and rules for life. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but when Fidel Castro, before he died, he passed on leadership to Raul Castro. That's a pretty good sign that you got a dictatorship going there. You would need to have competitive elections, and competitive elections even to the highest office of the land to have a country really not be a dictatorship. Also, if you want to go to the Step Back Discord, it is a great hive of villainy and a great source of what's it called, memes, lamp memes. So I'm gonna link the Discord again for anybody who's coming in later, because I love moth memes, moth memes. Okay, I lost some windows. Okay. Next up, you said you thought the Federation of Planets was the ideal society. Aren't you bothered by the fact that it still represented a democracy? Also, Starfleet functions like a military. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm not like saying like I literally want the Federation of Planets to be things like, but like the post-scarcity, post-capitalist like place that has that people like work because they want to just better themselves and the rest of humanity. Like, I really like that aspect of Star Trek. I really want my fully automated luxury gay space communism. On top of that, I would also like to. I think that if the Federation in Star Trek was made up of communes and networks of communes and things like that, then that would be way better. But I don't know, because I know that the people who write Star Trek keep the method of how the government works intentionally very vague, and I know that Starfleet is supposed to be an organization of exploration, but in order to make interesting TV, they always get called into the violent moments. And honestly, I think that the Star Trek episodes where like the Enterprise has to fire its phasers are usually the least interesting. Seriously, if you want some like of the best science fiction ever made, you need to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. Oh man. Okay. Ginny Artemis, was a monarchy successful in raising people with the traits to lead? No. Actually, World War I, even though I banned Kilhoun from the chat, but the problem that led to World War I is that a lot of the leaders in World War I were monarchs, and a lot of those monarchs were considered fairly inept leaders at the time. They actually made a lot of very poor decisions. The examples that stick out the most are Kaiser Wilhelm II and Tsar Nicholas II. They were both sort of treated as if, like they both were people who inherited their titles, and neither of which were considered very good leaders. Like, some people are just not, like, leading is, it's not for everybody. And those people, like, were not very, like, they spent their lives, living lives of leisure, and they never really got themselves to the point where, like, they learned all the skills that monarchs want. Ciao, Monsieur, the collapse of the Babylonian Empire. All right, Michael Kirshner. should the Hawaiian monarchy be restored? If the Hawaiians want to put in like a sort of figurehead monarch that like fits, that acts like the that fits like the Japanese emperor, that's sort of like this just cultural figurehead who just acts as like this cultural symbol to the Hawaiians, then sure. I would not want to make Hawaii into a monarchist like dictatorship. No, I don't think that's anything good for any situation. But if like they want to bring back like a sort of cultural figurehead called the King of Hawaii, then like sure, why not? I don't see the problem. If it works for them, it works for them. Oh yeah, you got to get around the episodes with Wesley Crusher. You just have to like, you just have to like close your eyes around him. He's problematic. All right, Think Fact. Hey, Think Fact. Hello, Dale. How's it going? I haven't heard from you in a while. What role do you think AI will have in the future of human space travel? Would it be more easy to just send them off rather than humans? At least when leaving our solar system. Oh, god damn, yeah. Yeah. Humans leaving the solar system, unless we figure out some new physics that we have never heard of before, is not going to happen. We're not going to leave the solar system unless, like, all of the things that we know about physics turn out to be wrong and we completely learn how to reprogram the universe. So, any ambassadors we send to other solar systems are going to be robots. There's a pretty interesting idea of making these little machines that would be, their job would be to go to other planets and try to like learn as much as possible and beam data back to Earth. Not data as in Brent Spiner, but like information about the solar system that they went to. And then their job would be to go somewhere and get the resources to build several copies of itself and send those in various directions to go check out other star systems and send information back to them that they would relay back to Earth. And the whole idea behind this is that you would be able to have this sort of sprawling discovery of the galaxy that in a few million years' time would actually have the entire galaxy like surveyed, but would not involve needing humans. Because, yeah, at this current point, to send a human to like Alpha Centauri or Proxima Centauri, the closest star, would take 125,000 years. And we are nowhere close to having the technology to make spaceships that can like survive space for centuries and millennia, so you have like entire nations rise and fall while riding on this starship. Like that just, I don't see that being a thing in the near term future. So at this point, machines are really going to be the only thing that leaves our solar system in a meaningful way. All right, we only have a minute and a bit left, so I want to get these two questions done. Sunflower Socialist, do you think that the Nazis could have been stopped if the KDP and SPD formed an alliance? Maybe. That would be speculation. But if socialist groups back then were more organized and were able to unify better, I do think that there would have been a stronger resistance to fascist organization, and that would have probably helped out a bit. Last question is 255 AD. Did you know that Bush has been calling around trying to get people to vote for Kavanaugh? Please do the war criminal video about him. I would love to do a video on George W. Bush as a war criminal. I will put the idea video thing in the chat so you can submit that video idea, and I will upvote it. And I'm sure some other people will too. So I'm going to put that in the chat right now so that you can get that one out. Oh, we got one question. Oh, yeah. We already answered one. Jenny Artemis, who asked the question about whether Monarchy was successful in raising people with traits to lead, was actually in Twitch. So if you want to do Twitch, that's something you can do. I'm just guessing that the SPD was socialist. I just imagine that those were two German socialist parties. I actually don't know. there's so many acronyms that I get lost. Anyways, we're getting close to 2 o'clock. The new video is going to be live in just seconds. So I'm just going to get the URL for all you folks so that you can excitedly watch the new Step Back video that's going to be live. It's live now. It's 2 o'clock. All right, guys. I'm getting the link for you so you guys can watch. Here you go. And here you go, Twitch. And I hope you guys enjoy. Have fun, like, share, subscribe. Obviously, the Step Back grows through word of mouth, your word of mouth. So if you know somebody who would like this, share it with them and everything like that. And I hope you guys have a really great time. And the next stream will probably be on Tuesday. So hang tight, everybody. Take care.